guys, welcome back to my channel Books and Beauty. My name is Tori. If you watch my other videos, you know that I was traveling as a pharmacy technician. I already posted how to get started as a travel tech and my review of my first travel assignment. This video is a review of my second and last travel assignment, and I'll explain at the end of the video why I'm not traveling anymore. But we'll jump right into it. It's so funny because I recorded this video before, but then I realized I was rambling and all over the place. So I wrote down everything in a nice, organized way so that the video will flow better. So let's get into it. Florida. So we'll start with like the license and everything. So I already knew I wanted to get my next travel assignment in Florida after I left New Jersey. So while I was still on contract in New Jersey, I applied for my Florida license. And the turnaround time was literally like less than 48 hours. But they didn't ask for fingerprints until I accepted the assignment down there, which was weird, but whatever. I don't remember how much it cost. I think it was, did I actually write that down? I can't look for that right now. I feel like it was at least 100. It might have been a little bit more, less than 150, but over 100 for Florida, I think. But it was super duper quick. So that made the process easier once it was time for me to start looking. Once my assignment ended in New Jersey, I flew back home for like a 3-week break. I feel like at the time, there were several different places in Florida that were looking for techs. I really wasn't set on like any just one location in Florida. Like I didn't want to be like, oh, only Miami or oh, only Orlando or anything like that. I just knew I wanted to be in Florida. So there were a couple different places. One of the things that was irritating me though was my recruiter was like, was trying to get me to go to other places. She was trying to get me to go to Wisconsin. She was trying to get me to go to North Carolina, even though I did get my North Carolina license because I was interested, but Florida was my priority. But I told her I was dead set on Florida. I think it was 2 different places, Lakeland, Florida, and then West Palm Beach. But I think West Palm Beach hit me a little late because by that time I had already accepted Lakeland. So the process with getting my contract was a lot easier than the first time because they already had everything they needed in the system. All I had to do, it was another phone interview. The one for New Jersey was a Zoom interview. For Florida, it was a phone interview and it lasted like maybe 15 minutes or less. And it was so funny because I was nervous at first because the guy was like saying how crazy it was, how busy it was, and you know, all of that. So at first I was nervous because you know, COVID in Florida at the time. I'm like, but I was like, I want to go, especially because the assignment was for an IV technician, like specifically for IV. And I think I mentioned it before how much I love compounding. So I already knew that's what I wanted to do. So like after the interview and everything, I think I got the offer same day or next day. But it took me like until the following week to get my contract, something that my recruiter had to do like behind the scenes or whatever. There was still a lot of paperwork that I had to fill out and scan. I think I had to go get something notarized. So that was a little irritating. I think I had to go get my flu shot, and then I got I think I had to redo one of my hepatitis vaccines, I think. But after all that was squared away, you know, I booked my flight. Of course, housing. Florida housing. Should be wine in the cup for the Florida housing part that we're going to talk about later. But Airbnb too expensive, or places that weren't close enough, because like after the New Jersey issues of me Ubering all the time, and then I was carpooling before, but then the lady drove me crazy, so I stopped carpooling. So Florida, I want it to be close enough to where I could possibly walk or do public transportation, or if I had to use Uber and Lyft, that it wouldn't cost too much. So I started looking at extended stays, and they have a lot of different ones, but I wanted to make sure I had one that at least had a decent kitchenette. So I wanted a full-size fridge. I wanted to make sure it had a nice enough sink. I wanted to make sure that it had at least a cooktop, you know, because I could buy small appliances. That didn't matter. And I ended up at Wood Spring Suites. We'll come back to housing later. Stipend. My stipend in Florida was a couple $100 more than what I was getting in New Jersey. So that was nice. But after like the first month, I was not doing 40 hours. I'm gonna be honest with you, because we're gonna have to circle back to that. Me and the other travelers were not doing 40 hours. Well, at least two of us, we were not doing 40 hours. It wasn't necessary. But the stipend was higher in Florida than in New Jersey, which helped. Oh, okay, we circle back to housing. Okay, housing. Wood Spring Suites. So price-wise, I don't remember how much it was monthly. I think I paid like 400 and some change per week. You could pay weekly or you could pay monthly. That was fine. Excuse me. It was like maybe 6-7 minute drive to the hospital from Wood Spring Suites, which was fine. It was perfect. So I already saw the pictures, so I know it wasn't going to be, you know, something spectacular, but I knew it had all the basics that I needed. So honestly, I really didn't care about that. I'm like, I'm not going to be hosting anybody in this room. I'm not trying to, you know, be all bougie or nothing like that. I'm like, bed, bathroom, kitchen, TV, whatever, I'm good. So I get there, and it's not really a lobby. It's a lobby, but it's not a lobby. But anywho, I get there, I check in, I get up to the room, I deep clean, and then I leave back out to, you know, go order my grocery, or go grocery shopping and get like cookware and all of that stuff. Because I asked the lady at the front desk if they had cookware, because I remember seeing that in like on the website, I think. So I asked her about cookware and dishes, and she said, the ones that we have, I wouldn't feel comfortable giving, so you might want to buy your own. I said, say less. So, you know, I went to Dollar Tree, Target. I don't remember who else was over there. I was buying a lot of shopping, Dollar Tree and Target. So I went and got majority of stuff that I needed from them. I ended up getting an air fryer, toaster oven, a blender, cookware set. And I stuck with like, you know, paper plates and plastic utensils. I did get actual, you know, cookware utensils. And just a couple of little basic dishes from like Dollar Tree, only, you know, cheap shit that I won't have to really take with me or whatever. That first day, the people above me, it was a lot of walking, a lot of hard walking. But it was concerning because I'm like, the rooms aren't that big to where you should be walking this much. But I blew it off. I said, whatever, it's Sunday. I don't know what they're doing, whatever. It's probably just only a daytime thing. It's not gonna bother me, fine, whatever. Also, let me interject this in there. For both New Jersey and Florida, I flew in the day before my start date. Don't do that. Don't do that. That was a dumb move. And obviously I didn't learn the first time in Jersey. That was a dumb move. Do not do that. If you have the funds to do so, I would say either get there a week earlier, especially if you're doing a different type of housing that's not an extended stay or a hotel, but get there a week early or at least a few days before your start date, because baby, that first week I was tired. Because as soon as I landed, it was a 45-minute drive from Tampa to Lakeland. I deep cleaned the room and then I went shopping. I was tired. Don't do that. Do not do that. That was dumb. I'm still mad at myself. That was dumb. Anywho, when you sign the paperwork to get your keys for your room or whatever, and it mentioned, because of COVID, house cleaning wasn't going to be in there every day, but it was saying that it would be required for housekeeping to come in like every 2 weeks. And I said, okay, that's fine. I was there from that third week of September until the morning of Christmas Eve. Not once did housekeeping ever come to my room. Not once. Not once. But anywho, okay, so I still need to go leave a review for Whispering Sweets, honey, because so it was this weird thing that kept happening and it was making me nervous and I was unsure, like the second week of me being at Whispering Sweets, I'm chilling because I worked second shift, so I wasn't leaving out until about 1 something or whatever. It started the second week and then it was happening like every week and a half or something like that. I get a knock on the door and they're like, crap, what's the name of it? Because the guy was maintenance, but it was another guy with him, pest control. They knock on the door and be like, pest control. And I'm like, I go open the door and they're like, did you call for pest control? No. I didn't. No, I did not. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then they just walk away and leave. And I'm like, but it kept happening. And I'm like, if you need to come in here and spray, tell me that and I'll let you come in here and spray. But I didn't call you guys. So, and I hadn't seen any bugs or nothing like that. So, I'm like, I don't know. Maybe someone else is calling for pest control and they're getting my room mixed up with theirs. But it kept happening. Y'all, I should have let them come in there and spray. In December. So the bathroom was right across from the kitchen, and the bathroom had this big ass mirror over the sink. So like looking, if you're in the bathroom looking at the mirror, like you can see the kitchen behind you and stuff. And for whatever reason, like I wear glasses. My eyesight isn't that bad, but for whatever reason, if it's a bug, my eyes are gonna find it no matter how small it is. But, and then you know, black people, we always keep the light on over like the stove. I kept that light on, so it was always light in the kitchen. It was a bug on the wall, and it was a decent sized bug, and I was just like, what is that? And I didn't have no bug spray, nothing like that. I had bleach. So I took that bleach and I bleached it to death. But looking at it, I'm like, what are you? Because it was like, I don't know, it was a tan color. So it wasn't really that dark. It's like a tan color, but like I was just disgusted because I'm like, what is this? Because I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't know what roaches look like. So I was just like, bitch, I hope this is not a roach. So I didn't see any more. And so I was just like, okay, maybe it was just a one-off. Sure, okay, whatever. But then I saw another one. As soon as the front desk opened, I called them and said, pest control now, immediately, please, now. So they came and they sprayed and set like the little sticky trap boxes in the cabinets. And I was just like, ew. At that point, I didn't even want to be there anymore. If you watch my review from New Jersey, when I mentioned that one of the roommates saw a mouse and then the same roommate saw a roach, and I said I was ready to go right then. After I knew it was a roach in that hotel, I was ready to go. I was ready to go, because why are you in my kitchen? I don't do that. But it got worse. Oh my God, just thinking about it. It got worse. Like, I came home one day after work and I was like, oh yeah, I'm about to cook me something. Bitch, I opened the cabinet and I was like, what is that in the door? No, was it that? No, it was one on the counter. It was one on the counter and I killed him, and then something told me to open the cabinet door. That's what it was. And I was like, so I opened the cabinet door. It was another one in the cabinet door. And I was like, dude, what the fuck? So killed him. At that point, I think I only had like a few weeks left. And I was like, I'm not about this life. I'm ready to go right now. Excuse me. Yeah, no. I ended up ordering food. I said, fuck this. Some food got left behind in that room. A lot of stuff. We're gonna get to that. The day that I was packing to leave, it was the night before, and I was already being paranoid. So like, I emptied everything from my suitcases, completely cleaned them out. I shook every piece of clothing before I packed it away because I wanted to make sure I wasn't taking anything with me. Bug wise, I wanted to make sure I wasn't taking any bugs with me. But I had already talked to the front desk person because like I felt like being generous, but also I was being lazy. I'm gonna be honest, I also was being lazy. The appliances and the cookware and the dishes that I had bought, I didn't want to pack up and ship them home. I didn't want to pack them up and take them with me because that was going to cost too much to do. It was too much work. So I talked to the lady at the front desk and I said, hey, I know that there are like, you know, actual families staying here. Do you mind if I would leave these appliances and dishes in there and then you guys can give them to whoever needs it? She said, sure. So my plan was to pack everything up so that when housekeeping actually came in there. They could just take the stuff to the front desk. I came home that night. I wanted to reheat my food. I opened the cabinet where my favorite place was, and there was a roach right there waving at me, and I slammed that cabinet and I said, you know what? We just gonna heat it up in this styrofoam. And I know that's not good, but that's what we about to do. And I said, fuck it. I wrote 2 notes and I stuck them on the microwave. I wrote 2 notes because I said, I can't do this. I said, I am sorry. I apologize for not packing these things up, but I am not equipped to deal with the roaches in this room. I said, I can't do it. I am not equipped to deal with the roaches in this room. I apologize for not packing any of this up. I am sorry, but I cannot. Because if he was right there, how many of them was in there? I didn't even bother looking in the bottom cabinet because I said no. And then the next morning when I was leaving, there was another one on the ceiling waving at me like, no, 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 no. I couldn't wait to leave. Like after, I slept so terribly, like after I was sleeping with the lights on, because I'm like, I had to inspect the bed every time I got, like, no. But that was not the only problem in that hotel. Remember those people above me that I mentioned? Elephants. I refer to them as elephants because, first of all, I don't know if the room above me had 1 bed or 2 beds because I'm not exactly sure how many people was in that room, but it sounded like there were children up there. And it sounded like these children were frequently left alone because they were just running around jumping on stuff. Excuse me. And I would call the front desk and I would say, yo, I'm trying to sleep. Like, this is ridiculous. And they're like, oh, we called and they say there aren't any children up there. Of course they're gonna say there's no children up there. But I'm like, dude, this is unacceptable. So too many times I stood on the bed and I banged on the ceiling because I was like, you got me fucked up. And they would quiet right the fuck up. Because don't make me come upstairs. But not only that, like I said, you know, there were families living there. And so I know a lot of the times the kids got left alone because parents had to go to work. But there wasn't anything for the kids to do there, you know, which was terrible, which them kids should have been in school. Now that I think about it, them kids should have been in school. My neighbor's loud. Those kids should have been in school. I was there from September to December. Y'all so loud. I was there from September to December. They should have been in school. Florida was open. Florida was open. Those kids should have been in school. Anywho, those kids, I don't know what they was doing. I would come home from work. Like, we was getting off work at like 10:30, 11. These kids are downstairs on the first floor. Their rooms are not on the first floor. These kids are downstairs on the first floor asking people for $1 so they can get something out the vending machine. They all up in the laundry room doing I don't know what, because somebody was about to go in there, and I remember one of the kids saying, no, my brother's in there. And where your parents at? Like, there were animals in the building. Like, there were dogs in the building, and the kids were louder than the dogs. I barely heard dogs. For some reason, the kids always wanted to be on my floor being loud and running. Child called that front desk and be like, I know I'm not the only person that called about these kids. That is not the only problem. The first month I was there was a couple across the hall that was arguing. The lady ran out in the hall and very loudly accused the guy of abusing her. I don't even know what happened with that because they eventually left, but I should have put wine in this cup, but it's not even noon yet. The couple next door to me. The couple next door to me. The couple next door to me, the lady, if I could smack her just one good time, because she always wanted to argue with this man, either early as fuck in the fucking morning or late as fucking hell at night. She was just loud and shrill, crying while she's yelling, just loud and shrill. And you barely heard him. You would barely hear him. And I guess once he would get fed up with her yelling, he would storm out, slam the door. The doors were already heavy. Slam the door, and then burst through the stairway door. Too many times I have gotten out of the bed to get ready to call the police, and by the time I pick up the phone, he done stormed out. That's how loud they were being. And this happened numerous times. The whole time that I was there, had to call the front desk a couple times, put it on record, because I'm like, dude, like, we'll never stay there again. We'll probably never stay at any Wood Spring Suites. Never stay there again. That was just, that was, child, that was stressful. We're gonna get to the workload, because that's where we are now. We're moving on from housing. The workload. Like I said during the interview, the manager made it seem like it was just chaos. And sometimes it did seem like it, but not really. I started with 3 other travelers who were, I was gonna say, all pretty nice. I started with 3 other travelers, and it was very nice in the beginning. We were all for the IV room. They didn't really need people for day shift. It was all for second shift. So at the time, they only had 2 people for second shift for the IV room. And I was thinking to myself, like, yo, how are y'all getting shit done? But the thing was, they had people from other shifts picking up overtime. So low key, people were side-eyeing us for that, because we was taking away their overtime. And then you had people who worked up front doing like unit dosing. Them folks up front straight up did not like us. We would come in, say hi, they would look us dead in our face and not say anything. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, that's just rude. I'm like, we coming to help y'all, and okay. But not too long after we started, one of the second shift IV room people ended up quitting. And then the guy who had been there for like 30 years, he ended up becoming ill, so he was out for a while, and I don't think he came back until after I had left. But that was something I don't think I mentioned in my New Jersey review, like training wise, like because you're a traveler, they really don't give you a lot of training. They kind of expect you to know everything right off the bat, which is understandable for certain things. But they kind of just threw us in there. After we did our fingertip test, and they made us watch them do like the basic antibiotics. I'm like, I already know how to do this. Um, they threw us in there. I was like, all right, go ahead. Which was a little terrifying because I had never had to compound pediatric medications before, so that was terrifying. The guy who had been there for 30 years taught us as much as he could. He emphasized like teamwork, 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 and not on like some corny stuff neither, but like literally when we would all work together, we would be done with our work like in 3-4 hours to where we were bored to death for the rest of the shift. But apparently that didn't, seep into everybody's brain. How can I put this? Okay. So like I said, I started with 3 other travelers, and we're gonna give them some names. So it was 2 ladies and a guy. The guy, we are going to name him Chucky. We're gonna do Rugrats names. We're gonna name him Chucky. We're going to name one lady Kimmy and the other lady Angelica. That's perfect. I'm gonna get some water. Hold on. All right, we back. I didn't realize how fuzzy I was, but it's been a long week and it's Saturday now, so anywho. So back to the other travelers I was with. So let me just say, okay, so overall, Chucky was really cool. Chucky was very nice. He talked a lot. Now, remember I mentioned in my New Jersey video how Professor Umbridge, how she talked a lot, but she didn't really talk about anything, and it used to make me want to bash my head in. Chucky talked about a variety of things, so it was easy for me to talk to him. And he liked to talk, so I didn't really have to say too much, but like, he talked about a lot of different interesting things. Like, we could talk about movies, TV shows, music, sports, all of that. It was easy. And he actually would recognize in the moment when he would be talking too much. And it was easy for us to be like, okay, Chucky, shh, we're doing a lot. Let's listen to some music instead. And he'd be okay with that. So Chucky, he was very cool, really cool, super sweet, nice guy. Kimmy, she actually started a week after we did. Overall, very cool person, but low-key kind of judgmental. And it was one of those things where, like, I was super cool with her, but sometimes I would be like, what do you really think of me? Because she would, it would be unnecessary things. You know how, like, if you're out, like, if I'm out in public and I see somebody out there looking crazy, and not even crazy, if I see somebody with some pants on that look too big, I'm not gonna turn to somebody like, oh my God, did you see such and such? Why their pants is so big? No. Oh my God, why is that person's hair green? Did you see them? They look so unprofessional. They look... And that was one of the things Kimmy used to do, and it used to irritate me because I really liked her, and I would just be like, why? Because she'd be like, oh, did you see such and such? Why are their scrub pants so short, it looks like they're flooding, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what? No, I didn't notice. Like, oh, did you see such and such's hair? It always looks like she comes in and never bothered to comb it and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, so, because I'm like, one, we're going in the IV room and we're wearing bonnets anyways. Why does it matter? And I used to come in there looking, first of all, I would go in there looking just like this, except fuzzier sometimes because all of this would get curly again. I'd be throwing extra product on there and all of that stuff. And I would be going in there looking busted sometimes. And I'd be like, I know you thinking it. I know you thinking it. She want to talk about, why does this person's hair that color, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, girl, I don't know what century you living in, but you need to get with the times. Aside from her being judgmental, Kimmy was actually very nice. I actually used to ride to and from work with her all the time. Very cool, very cool. Angelica. So, first day of work, Angelica, you know, all of us travelers, you know, we were chit-chatting, and Angelica was like, oh, well, where are you staying? And I said, oh, I'm staying at Wood Springs. And she was like, oh, me too. So, like, with us being on the same shift and staying in the same place, she was like, I'll take you home. And when she would see me out front, she would just, you know, I'd ride with her to work or whatever. And, you know, she didn't bother asking for money or anything, nothing like that. And that was fine. Because literally, she barely had to fill up her gas tank. I told you that place is like 5 minutes away. But Angelica seemed very nice and cool at first. You know, me and her would talk, you know, and everything would be fine. But for some reason, I couldn't understand why no one else liked her. Like, she'd be in the IV room and the midnight shift would come in at 8 o'clock and they'll be like, oh, who's back there? We'd be like, oh, Angelica's back there. And they're like, I'll wait until she comes out. And I'm like, why don't y'all like her? Like, what is it? And then I found out. So there would be, normally it would be 3 to 4 people in the IV room and then one person outside to like do, what is it? All the ready to use antibiotics that's already out there, like slap-ons or whatever. And so it would be 3 to 4 of us in the IV room. And we would, our work would be delegated. So you would have a person that would do stats, you would have a person that would do pre-packing, and then you would have a person that would do, excuse me, why do I always forget the name of that? Crap, what's the name of it? The batch. Yeah, the batch. So the batch is basically all the labels for like the next morning, whatever. So we would have, you know, a person for each of those tasks. And if we had an extra person, then we would have like 2 staff people or whatever. But the thing was, when we would go into the IV room, like when we still had the older guy there, like, we really wouldn't pay that much attention to who had to do what, because we would always just split up the work. Non-verbally sometimes, we'd just be like, give me half those baskets, you know, like. But for some reason, Angelica wanted help but didn't like helping. So, like I said, after the older guy got ill and he was out for a while, it was literally just the 4 of us travelers holding down the IV room during second shift. So We would hate it when Angelica had to be in the IV room with us and one of us was on the out because she wasn't going to help. And one of the terrible things was, like, due to scheduling, sometimes it would only be 2 of us in the IV room and 1 person out front, which meant that on those days, I was responsible for the batch and pre-packing, and all she had to do was stats. But I would tell myself and be like, you know what? That is absolutely fine, because when I'm done with my work, I'm done with my work. She's on her own. So I would go ahead, I would do my batch, get it out the way. I would do my pre-packing and get it out the way. And I would leave out the IV room and leave her in there by herself until midnight crew got there at 8 o'clock. And she used to wonder why nobody liked her, because it's like, help. Like, it's not that hard. Whenever she had a lot to do, like, without asking me or one of the other folks, we would literally just grab a couple baskets. Without saying anything, we would just grab a couple baskets. And we never understood why she was like that, because it's like, how do you want help but don't want to help? Like, that shit was so trash. But she was just lazy. Even when she was the out tech, we would write lists of stuff that we need in the IV room. She didn't want to go get that shit. She didn't want to do the slap-ons out front. It's like, the bitch didn't want to work. What are you doing here? But then also, so earlier in the video when I said me and my other coworker wasn't really doing 40 hours, me and Kimmy, our shift was originally 2 to 10:30. But like I said, midnight shift will come in at 8 o'clock. And then around that time, it wasn't really much for us to do. So, or actually no, it was 2:30 to 11. They said we could come in at 2 to 10:30. But even then, that was still too much time with us doing nothing. And we would just be sitting in the corner because now, it's too many of us out front. Midnight shift didn't like extra people in the IV room because midnight shift was literally just 3 techs. Up front person, the outside tech, and then the IV room tech. The IV room tech didn't like anybody else being in the IV room with them because they all like the IV room being a certain way when they're in there. So when we knew it was 8 o'clock and it was time for them to come in, we would leave out. There you go. But 8 o'clock is too soon for us to leave, even though a lot of times we used to leave at like 8:30. We would leave at like 8:30, 9, 9:30 to be nice sometimes, 10. I couldn't tell you the last time we stayed until 10:30. It got to the point where I would be like, yeah, so I'm not gonna take a lunch today so that I can leave at like 10, but then I would still end up leaving earlier than that because, like I said, it was nothing for us to do. They would even try to find things for us to do. Like, I don't know what one of the pharmacists on second shift would tell the manager, I guess, that, oh, they don't be having nothing to do, blah, blah, blah. And then not only that, so the hiring manager decided to sit with each of us travelers to talk about extending. I had already made up my mind that I wasn't going to extend because, like I said, I was in the process of getting my own apartment back in Michigan. But I already knew I didn't want to extend, but I didn't want to outright say that. I was just like, well, I have some things to take care of back home. I was like, if anything changes, I'll let you know. At the time, we weren't really talking to Angelica. So when Angelica got called in there, she was all nervous or whatever. And I guess she was just in there telling him, like, I guess he was asking how it was going, and she was just telling him, like, oh, well, we really don't have a lot to do. And, a couple of them, they leave early and blah, blah, blah. And we're like, why would you tell him that? Why would you tell him that? Because let me tell you, the only time we would actually ask to leave early is if it was before 9. If it was 9 or after, we weren't telling anybody because the overnight pharmacists did not care. We never really used to ask to leave early. We would just leave. We was doing our own thing there. But we're like, why would you tell him that we don't have enough to do, or that we're bored, or that we leave early? That's none of your business to be telling. You don't leave early. I'm like, well, you don't leave early. Let me put the charger up here before. And you're not gonna reach, that's rude. Okay, I'll hurry up. Anywho, yeah, she told him all of this, and we were like just pissed, but nobody ever said anything to us about it. So like after we found out she told him for like a week, we were staying at least until 10, but nobody said anything to us. So we just, whenever it got too slow, we was tired, we'd be up out of there. Yeah, no, I don't get her. And the crazy thing is, she ended up extending, and that was a whole hot mess of a situation, to where I guess one of the higher ups of one of the recruiting agencies called her and ripped her a new one and threatened to call the hospital and tell them not to extend her because she was doing the most. But for whatever reason, she ended up extending, and I guess that hospital was desperate enough. But according to Kimmy, who extended as well, Angelica's still being lazy and still ain't doing what she's supposed to be doing. Yeah, no, I don't know. Overall, the work, like I said, it really wasn't a lot. There might have been less than 5 days where I might have felt overwhelmed. And like I said, that's because I was not getting help from Angelica. It was because I was in there by myself, not getting help. Because literally, Chucky and Kimmy always helped. We always helped each other regardless. But if I wasn't in the process of getting my own place, low-key, I probably would have extended too, if I could have found another place to stay. Because I would have not stayed at Woodspring. No. But I probably would have ended up extending and staying, because as soon as I got back home, snow. And then everybody wanted to blame me because it was snowing. Like, it's not Michigan and like it's not winter. Rude. Anywho. Oh, exploring. Because like I said, I was in Florida. I was in Lakeland. Lakeland is like right in between Tampa and Orlando. I didn't get to do that much exploring. I did meet a friend out there who took me to Orlando. We went out to eat a couple places. We went shopping. Didn't get to go to Disney or Universal. Because honestly, I feel like that's a whole separate trip that I want to do entirely. But like, we had a lot of plans that we didn't really get to execute because our schedules were a little over the place. But I would not mind going back. Lakeland is actually kind of nice. It's kind of decent. Lakeland is a lot of lakes. It's a lot of places that I wish I would have gone to while I was still down there. But like I said, when I was in New Jersey, I was a little apprehensive about exploring by myself. So, yeah. But overall, my second assignment was way better than my first one because I already knew what to expect. the reason why I stopped traveling. I got homesick. I did not get homesick when I was in New Jersey. I was living my best life in New Jersey. And then I got to Florida and I just got homesick. Like, I was missing everybody. Like, my sister's birthday was in October and I couldn't celebrate with her. And like, I cried and everything, and I was just like, what is this? Like, I felt like the Grinch. Like, what are these feelings? Like, I missed everybody back home. And I was like, you know what? I think I need to come home. And so, like, and then also I got approved for the apartment that I wanted to. So I was like, you know what? Let's just go home. I'm like, if I decide to start traveling again, I can always start traveling again. But I was like, for now, I need to go home. I feel like this is where I need to be right now. I felt like I needed to be close to my family right now. So that is why I'm here. Nothing crazy with my agency happened or nothing like that. Right now, I'm actually in a home infusion pharmacy. I'm gonna try to do a video to like working retail versus working in the hospital versus doing home infusion, because these are all three different settings, and I think it would be helpful for new techs to understand the difference so they know where they want to be. Otherwise, I would never would have worked retail a day in my life. But you know, you gotta experience it sometimes. But I'm happy where I am right now. I'm happy where I am right now. I am overworked a little bit, exhausted a lot of it, but I love my work. That I can say. I do love my work. But yeah, I guess that was it for this video. If you guys have any other questions, I know people will still leave in the other questions on the other two tech videos. If you have any other questions related to that, go ahead and pop them in the comments. I always try to reply as best as I can. Just make sure you subscribe and all of that good stuff and like the videos. I'm gonna try to be a little bit more consistent. I've just been tired. But thank you for watching the video. I appreciate you guys so much.